we find out what's going on in Wales?
Where do you want to start?
Yeah. But when I started writing this up, I thought, right, we can try and squeeze in a small amount of stuff with the time that we got and hopefully bullet point. And I started talking about the 20 mile per hour and looking into a bit of research. And it turns out that we could talk about this again all day, couldn't we? So 20 mile per hour is coming in Wales is probably the biggest thing happening.
Is that in yet?
Yes. Yeah, that's why we were late
17th
getting
of
here.
September.
That must be a bloody nightmare.
Well, it is, because, of course, we've only got one motorway in Wales. It's the M4. And large chunks of that are at 50. So they've brought it from 70 to 50. Then you've got the main arterial road that runs from Cardiff to Holyhead, the A470, and chunks of that are now at 50. So they're actually attacking the motorist night and day.
But it's actually quite hard to drive at 20. I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Think of
For a number of
a
reasons.
street light and it's 20. That's the slogan.
Yeah.
So you think how many, day and night, 24 hours a day, 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not going to stay there. Before long, it's going to be 15 miles an hour. And then you can only drive in reverse at 5 miles an hour. Come by ours.
Well, they've got a cunning plan because it's going to be pay per mile.
Yes. Yeah, we do. Because this is the point, this is a salami slicing again, isn't it? It's where they do a little bit at a time. And, with the 20 mile per hour, it's the first thing. And it's had big pushback, hasn't it? So, but the main thing about it at the moment is that nobody knows what the hell's going on. Nobody knows how they're supposed to drive, and everybody's really confused. Like, we've got some pictures that we got up there. You can see one side of the road saying 20, the other side saying 30. And then if we go on to the next one, I don't know. There we are. There it is. So, someone's put that sign up.
Yeah.
20 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour with a speed camera. What speed are you going to go? You're automatically going to default to 20 just in case you get caught by a speed camera where the road could well be 30 mile per hour.
You don't have any of those awful people in Wales, do you? Those people have been going around sawing down ULEZ cameras. You don't. They're awful, aren't they?
Blade runners.
No, it's terrible. I don't think it's people in Wales. I think it's this global boiling. I've got some pictures as well of that, and we got about 7 pictures. So yeah, the global boiling. The colour, I think, run and it's 20, and then we can keep on going through them. That one fell down. Oh, no. They've all been sprayed. That one's been sprayed. So
that's awful, isn't it?
It's dreadful. And you got there, Cymru am byth, so that's Welsh and proud. I can't even read what the other one says. But then, it's just more examples of this happening, and this is within days, and we've seen it. Everywhere we go in, we're seeing these signs being, obviously there, the sticky on the back of the two has come off because of how hot it's been. And there as well, the paint must be running. So
no, how dreadful.
It is. And the point is, these signs alone cost millions and millions and millions of pounds to put up.
The whole basis of this, bringing 20, according to Drakeford, is that it will save lives. And they estimate...
Well, first, it was for the climate.
Yeah.
That's their big push, first of all. It's the green agenda. 20 mile per hour is going to be better for the environment. But obviously, remember that science thing came out?
Well, let's do a quick thought experiment. Let's just say that he's right and it's successful. And let's say he brings in another idea next week and the emission of Wales go to 0. Right. What percentage of world emissions is Wales?
Well, I don't know the percentage of the Wales, but I know we've got a climate guy who works with us. He's very good on the topic, Paul Burgess. And the whole man-made emissions from the UK is 0.8% of global emissions.
Right, so Wales can't be more than 0.2.
Yes,
really,
yes.
At most, 0.2 of the world's emissions.
Yeah.
So even if it goes to 0, it doesn't touch the sides.
But I mean, it's fabricated, all this, because, of course, we've got... Talbot Steelworks that import coal
from Australia on a big tanker, dirty diesel.
That's not our carbon footprint. You see, it's somebody else's.
Yeah. Actually, this is the big thing. So, in order for companies to comply with BlackRock's emission requirements, what they've been doing a lot of the time is selling off subsidiary, the most carbon producing bits. They then sell it off, and then have that as a third party, and then buy from their old former subsidiary as a third party.
Yeah.
And it lowers and it improves their EOG score because they're now buying it in from another company rather than... It's complete and utter farce.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Especially when you mention Port Talbot, because they import that coal, the diesel used to push them tankers from there to here where across the road from Talbot Steelworks, you've got the best coal in the world.
Yeah, anthracite coal.
So they could just as easy start mining,
very dense,
conveyor belt, going straight across to Talbot, because it is literally across the road.
Yep.
And if you cared about the environment, surely that's what you'd be doing.
Yeah, because it's the cleanest coal.
Yes.
There's no travel, so there's no footprint.
Yeah.
And you're burning coal, which is what they were burning.
Yes. And you still get the same result now, only on paper you've shuffled it around to look like you've got less carbon, but actually you've got more.
Yeah.
And I don't even think the carbon thing's a problem in the first place.
Well,
it's that.
No, that's
everything's carbon, isn't it? We are carbon.
How green is our valley because of carbon? But so Mr. Drakeford, and he's 20. He's supposed to save 12 lives a year. That saves on hospital appointments. However, he fails to admit that there are normally about 360 odd children committing suicide across Wales, and that money, the millions that has been pushed into this, could have saved many more than 12.
Yeah.
Run that by me. So 12. He thinks that 12 will be saved by this. And there were how many children committing
364 last year committed suicide. Children. We're not talking of adults. We're talking of children. In Wales.
The whole thing with government, it is a series of trade-offs. It would be great if the government could supply everybody with a helicopter and a mansion, but there's not enough resources. So you have to decide how you're going to spend your money. Obviously, they could have spent half that money to have got twice as many lives saved.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there was a perfect example. Someone put it up. There's obviously Facebook pages flying up all over the place against this 20 mile per hour. And someone put up a picture of a new grave with a new stone on it. And they said, you may ask why I'm posting this here. And the reason is, this was my nan. She passed away because the ambulances couldn't get to her. There's not enough staff in the NHS. The roads are all jammed up. There's no building of new roads. If they were to spend money on improving the infrastructure, like they were supposed to have done, Labour elected to build the M4 relief road. If they had spent that money on that would be saving lives. Yeah. And you've got hard facts and evidence to show that would have happened.
Yeah. But what's it like just getting around in Wales now? It must be incredibly frustrating.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yes, and it's more frustrating because, like these signs, as far as I'm concerned, the sat nav doesn't link up. It tells you you're going 30. You've got buses in front of you saying "See street lights go 20," and you see, as we're on the road behind the bus, a street sign saying 30 with a speed camera. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not clear, and I'm just going to carry on doing what I was doing. But the frustrating thing is, you've got the people then who are driving 20 miles per hour everywhere, but they're not driving 20 miles per hour. They're driving 15.
15.
And then there's a slow trail of traffic just behind them. So it is. And not only that, cars are not meant to drive at that speed.
They're not.
There was a brilliant video on YouTube which showed, on the modern cars, it's little light flashes when you need to change up or down the gear.
Yeah.
It shows going 20 in second, you need to change up. Going 20 in third, you need to change down. So the car is not happy traveling at this speed. So it is going to cause damage.
They make weird noises because I've tried doing it. The car just doesn't like it at all.
No, we were on with David Vance last night, and David said exactly the same. He tried to do it just to see how it was, and I asked him, "How long did you actually stick at it?" Yeah. Because when I tried to do it before it came in, I did it for about a minute, and I thought, no, I can't even be bothered with this experiment. And he did exactly the same. He did it for a minute. But in Wales, you are enforced, and we've got so many average speed cameras that it's not just the odd speed trap every now and again. There's yellow cameras every half a mile measuring you from camera to camera to camera. So it is complete, surveillance state. But there's been a massive pushback, the petition that has come out.
But why do people in Wales keep voting for this Drakeford guy?
Well, this is it, isn't it?
The problem is that there's a history. And if you knock on a door, they say, we've always voted Labour in this house.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't know why, but they vote Labour. But the Welsh government's understanding of all this is they want people to be kept at home who don't vote at all. And so they got in with a minority vote.
Yeah.
And a minority of a minority.
46% turnout in the Senate elections. 39% of that 46% voted for Labour. So, like Stan said, the majority of the minority is how they got into power.
Is there even a right-wing party available in Wales, or is it just
UKIP?
Okay,
yeah,
so that's it. Okay,
and UKIP are, in fairness, they are the only party in Wales that have been persistent. They haven't backed off and then pop up an election. They are still plugging away in little towns and cities. Yeah. Llanelli, where the Stradey Park Hotel is, they've been present since Neil Hamilton was evicted from the Senedd. So, they're the only party, but unfortunately, you've got the full weight of the media machine. Now, Wales is just like everywhere else. Tails Online or Wales Online, funded by Welsh Labour. All the small little, like Llanelli Standard and all Carmarthenshire Online, all funded by the Welsh government, to the point that you've actually got the Welsh government paying the rent for the buildings for 6 months of these small media companies. So it's clear as day. They're not going to report what is actually happening.
Your rent is not being paid by the Welsh government.
No, well, if they had their way, it would be, but that's because we'd be behind bars,
right.
So, they would if they could. But it's, it is a complete Orwellian sort of state that we're in, because people are looking around and they're being told what they're seeing is untrue. What they're seeing with their own eyes is not happening. Like, we've got the pushback for this now. The previous petition, the record, I think it finished on 67,000 or 68,000, something like that. And that was for Drakeford to stop locking up all the non-essential items during lockdown, because in Wales, we had it from start to end. We only had one lockdown, but that's because it didn't end. It just went all the way through. And that's 67,000. Within 24 hours, you can see on the screen there, 430, no, this isn't within 24 hours, but the record was beat within 24 hours. That's where it stands now, 432,540. And you can see it's going up as we type in. Now, that is a massive, massive pushback. When you're considering the previous record for any petition finished on 60-odd thousand. This one's been going, a week?
Less than a week.
Yeah. And you've got this many.
And this is as many as the votes who voted for Labour going in.
Yeah, almost. And we do definitely, we touch on that because I've actually got a picture of that as well. But then you've got Martin Lewis put out the poll recently, and he had it 117,000 votes. I'm a driver and they want 30 mile per hour, 63.6%. I'm a driver and I want 20 mile per hour, 26. So, no matter where you look or who you ask, nobody at all is in agreement with this. Obviously, you can see there you've got the non-drivers who are wanting a 20 mile per hour, outweighing the non-drivers who wanted a 30. But, in my opinion, their opinion doesn't really matter on this because it's not really affecting them. They use public transport anyway. But the drivers who are actually being affected by this are all, pretty much against it.
Yeah, and you've got to remember that to get from South Wales to North Wales using these new dimensions, it means that HGV drivers now have to, or will have to consider doing an overnight stay because they can't get there in time. You've got other transport companies that have just packed up. They can't run efficiently. And yet Lee Waters says it's a cracking success.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's probably going to be more suicides from businesses closing because of Waters and Drakeford than there are going to be saving lives.
And none of these drive as well. These people putting these powers in place, none of them drive. Mark Drakeford is driven around in his nice big posh Audi. Very big, probably very heavy on diesel.
In the back of an Audi, reading a newspaper or going through your work files or something, it doesn't particularly matter to you because however long the journey takes, you're still perfectly comfortable.
Yeah, and he's not paying the fuel. He's not having to pay for what's coming next. He doesn't have to pay road tax or anything like that. So it's very easy for these people to say. These people live in a completely different world. Lee Waters, for example, he's worth $5.5 million. He's got 3 houses. When in Labour they're talking about taxing people with second homes, seems they've all got more than 1 or 2 houses anyway. So they're all massive hypocrites, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Without a doubt. And I think we got it from the DVLA, roughly 1.6 million registered drivers in Wales. So when you look at, people say, we've heard people say already, 400,000 is a tiny fraction compared to the amount of people in Wales, when in reality it's not, is it?
No.
Because 1.6 million and 400,000 of them saying that they don't want this to happen is a big percentage.
I'm sure if you put it in front of the rest of them, all of them would do it.
Yeah, definitely. There was one a petition that came out in favour of it, because what people were saying is that this is a small fraction of Wales. 3.3 million people in Wales, 400,000 is not something to go by to take it seriously. So they created then this petition, which is in favour of keeping it at 20 mile per hour. So by their standards, 3,000 is nowhere near a representation of what the people want.
I wish there was a disclaimer at the bottom. How many of these are Labour Party hacks?
Yes.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. And then what you mentioned then, the Senedd votes. This is going to be interesting because on this next picture, you've got for the Senedd Labour election, they got in with 443,000 people voting for them.
Yeah.
But they will then turn around and say that that's not enough people to take this petition seriously.
That's not really a good argument on their
It's
part.
not, because we've got to take them seriously when they're only getting 39% or 36%, regional votes.
Yes.
So it's, for them to say that is quite disingenuous, isn't it?
Yes,
because they expect us to respect them when they're getting through with the majority of the minority.
Yep.
But when there's a petition of more people than voted for the party saying they don't want it, they just poo-poo it. And we've got this year actually a video. This is one of the Welsh Conservatives. I hate calling them Conservatives, but he put a good detailed argument over to Mark Drakeford, and you'd expect a nice reasoning why they're not going to listen to the petition. But we'll have a little look at this now.
By far, the largest ever Senedd petition in history is being signed this week, with over 162,000 people and counting registering their opposition to the Welsh Labour government's 20 miles per hour scheme. One of the reasons people will be opposing this scheme is because of the costs to our economy. The government's own figures show that it could be hit by up to £9 billion. And people know we can't afford it, because after 25 years of Labour in Wales, we're languishing at the bottom of league tables for economic prosperity. They used to want to aspire to bring us up to the UK average. Now their only aspiration is stuffing 96 politicians in this place. But if he doesn't believe me when I say there'll be an economic hit, perhaps he'll want to listen to a constituent of mine who's an audiologist making home visits across South Wales. He contacted me to tell me, and I quote part of his email, "It takes way too long from one patient to another, uses more fuel, too risky for prosecution and licence points. We can no longer visit care home patients either for the same reason, and we've cancelled them. Home care nurses are complaining as they're not allocated travelling time between calls, and makes it impossible to fit all patients allocated in." First Minister, that's just one business, but stories like this will be repeated across Wales. People across the country won't be able to receive the services that they rely on thanks to your government's actions. So will you commit, as the 160,000 plus strong petition asks you to, and rescind your disastrous 20 mile an hour scheme?
No, Llywyd.
That's it.
Yep.
So that's the level of contempt that this man has for the Welsh people. And we've known this all along, haven't we? What they want to do is what they're going to do, whether the people like it or not. But again, there are repercussions from this, because now the Welsh Conservatives are calling for a vote of no confidence for Lee Waters.
Yeah.
Waters.
So that's tomorrow. Today, they've also got another demonstration. Last week, they had a demonstration of tooting the horn 20 times outside the Senedd. But what I can forecast now is that the Wales Online, S4C, ITV, BBC will all be going overtime to find constituents that are in favour of this.
They always do.
Yeah. Because it is unfortunate, because I think it's 16 out of the 60 seats are Conservatives. So, if this is a whipped vote, which it probably will be, it's not going to go anywhere. But it's very clear that the people of Wales and their assembly member who represents them for Labour should be representing their community and actually saying and voting in favour of the vote of no confidence. However, they're not going to. They're going to ignore their constituents to push this through.
Yep.
Yeah, I think long ago have they stopped caring in the slightest what the constituents think. Now politics is all cattle management. That's what they see their job as.
Yes,
absolutely right. And indeed, any charity in Wales that you care to mention, any big charity in Wales, is government whipped.
Yes.
They'll say, this is what we want, you write a report for it. And I'm talking about the NSPCC, to be one. They will not come out and argue strongly against female genital mutilation. A terrible, terrible, terrible indictment in Wales that we've got it on the increase in Cardiff. We've got a child commissioner.
And in Swansea.
Yeah, and Swansea. We've got a child commissioner whose remit isn't to castigate female genital mutilation. It's not in her brief. A child commissioner. And yet if you challenge or chastise your child, you'll get social services around.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you sexually mutilate the kid, that's fine.
Yeah.
But tell them off, which is basically teaching them to be a better person over time because of bad behaviour, and will actually do them good over the long term. that gets you arrested.
That gets you arrested.
Yeah, they take your children and give it to someone who will encourage all this madness.
And you've got teachers that are informers as well. So they feel, the whole system now, it's Orwellian.
Yeah, and it is because, I teach my children what is right and what's wrong. And I do that through things like, the pride flags and all that. They're designed to target children. That's my opinion. So when my child likes rainbows, as children do, I've got to explain to her what that flag means. That flag comes up in school. She could tell it to a teacher. A teacher could then report to social services, would be at my door. And that's the problem that we've got is even parents are scared they're scared to say anything, and they're just going to leave their children go to school to suffer
it is not North Korea yet, but it is doing the things that North Korea does.
Absolutely.
Getting to that point. And if you grow up in North Korea, and there's that girl who goes around talking about her experience of growing up in North Korea, they absolutely impress upon their children when they leave the home and go to school, do not talk about anything that happens at home. That is a code of silence, and it's starting to get to that point now. I found myself doing it. I found it myself with the kids. My children will ask me to explain how the world works in some way, and I tell them and say, "But don't bring this up at school because it's just going to cause bother."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got a situation a couple of years ago now. I think we reported on it at the time for the general election. The teachers were asking the kids which way they were voting. So they said Labour, and everyone, yay!
Yeah,
Conservative. Ooh. Anyone else? Any other UKIP reported?
Yeah. out.
Ostracised.
But you mentioned that it's not quite North Korea yet, and you said earlier on about is there a bigger picture? So where is this going? So you highlighted this to me, so we could pop that up on the screen here because this is in their documents and their plans in what the future holds. And I put boxes around the main parts so you can just see where they are. So the first one, in 2022, we deliver a public transport recovery campaign to help address the challenges of attracting people back to using public transport. So, that is on the outside of it. They want to try and encourage people to use public transport. Working with our partners, we'll use our future campaigns and marketing materials to build on our investments in walking, cycling, and public transport to transform the image and become the natural choice for everyday journeys. So they want to change how people think, basically, is what that's saying. They don't want people to walk up the door and think, I'm going to get in my car. They want people to walk up the door and think, I'm going to get on the buses, or I'm going to cycle, or I'm going to walk, which is abnormal to your average everyday person. So their goal is to completely change how you think.
Yeah. And if you've gone up to any of the valleys in Wales, where it's like the north face of the Eiger, there's no trains. There's a bus once a week. And this is what they're doing, and then they're going to bring in paper mile. So
if you're a mother with 3 kids and you live at the top of a hill, you're supposed to lug them up and down all of the time.
Yes,
it's because all these people understand it's people living in the pod in the big cities.
Yes,
that's all they want. They want everyone in a pod in a big city.
And you said it's not quite North Korea yet. Yeah. There's memes going around with Kim Jong Drakeford.
Yes,
in a uniform.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think this one then is the worst one. We will also motivate people away from private car use through demand management. The Wales transport strategy includes a commitment to develop a national road user charging framework. Further work will be undertaken to develop a fair and equitable road user campaign framework, including how local authorities can borrow against these future revenue streams to fund transport improvements and also consider other alternatives.
We're going to tax you out of your car, basically.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like you said, pay per mile. That's what's coming. Is they're going to make it completely impossible for you to drive.
Yeah. Or is that code for 15-minute city?
Well,
pretty much. Yeah.
The councils have already signed up to the 15-minute cities. It's on their websites. You've got. I think it's every council in Wales have agreed and signed up to the 15-minute cities. But it's all in them. We're going to bring everything closer, so you don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
But yeah. But the best thing, something you can always admire about the Welsh, and the Stradey Park Hotel is a perfect example. What they're facing is absolute catastrophe on their doorstep, but they're enjoying it. As in, they're making the most of it. They're having fun. They're dressing up. They're dressed up as clowns. They're going to answer bail dressed up as.
What's happening here?
So this is a migrant hotel, and it's a lovely 4-star hotel and spa.
Oh, only the best for the migrants.
Only the best, yeah. But it's not looking so good anymore. But the locals, it's actually still a community. There's not many communities left. So all the locals have pulled together and they're doing everything they can to stop it happening. And there's been 23 arrests now, I think 22 or 23 arrests from protesters. Many of them are challenged their bail conditions.
So the locals are trying to stop this hotel from being used for migrants?
Yes. They were supposed to be in there in June, I think, was it? Yeah. June or July, or 10th of July, something. They were supposed to be going in there.
And oppose, actually, the country of Wales and the county of disbursement into the community. They don't want it because they're unknown. They're not genuine refugees in their eyes, and they oppose it, full stop.
Well, resisting invasion is quite a long-running theme.
Yes.
For communities since forever.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're not allowed to do that anymore. You've just got to take it.
Yes, you're supposed to embrace invasion.
Yes, absolutely. And, but they're making the best out of a bad situation, aren't they?
Yes.
But then you've got other people as well, like things that's happening in Wales regarding the 20 mile per hour is also, people are making the best of it. So I've got a couple of videos here. So I think the next one should be the video. So this is one of them. So this is how they're getting around using cars and going faster than 20 mile per hour.
So if you're listening, that was a man on what appeared to be a mobility scooter, which had probably received a bit of an upgrade.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's definitely doing more than 20 mile per hour, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, and Waters has actually admitted that although electric bikes are illegal, they won't be prosecuted at going more than 20 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and also cyclists won't be prosecuted at going 20 miles an hour.
That's a point, yeah. If you're a cyclist.
So there's been warnings going out them there. Please be mindful when overtaking cars if you're on your bike. We can only go 20 mile per hour, so please be mindful of that. But again, the pushback.
So we're going to need signs up in the cycle lanes that say "Think car."
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, you'll get the bicycles with the juggernaut on the left with an arrow through it.
Yeah. But you mentioned earlier on, so if anybody is watching your local Cardiff, there is a protest going on there at the moment as we speak, gathering at the Senedd. So it's this one here. What you see, Wales has become snails. Welsh flag with a nice little snail on it. So that's between 1
and a bit of a downgrade from a dragon, isn't it?
It is a bit of a downgrade, but that's exactly what they want to do. The Welsh, one thing, but it's
the other one that I've seen has got Drakeford's face on the snail. So that was the one I would have gone with.
Yeah. And then there is another one
on the backside.
Yeah, another one tomorrow. So this is for the vote of no confidence, and that's Lee Waters on the left. So this is happening tomorrow. Then, so if anybody again want to go down between 9:30 and 3 o'clock. And it's going to be there to try and show the politicians that are going in the building that there is no support for what these people are doing. And then the next one, then I think is a little bit further on. So this is the big one. This is the one that everyone is planning for. This is 6th of October between 9:30 and 3 p.m. But that is, that's pretty much it, I suppose, with how it's going in Wales with the 20 mile per hour speed limit. And it is one of those watch this space moments.
I think if I lived in Wales, I'd definitely be attending this, or I would be trying to track down those awful people that are cutting down the speed cameras, and I'd be saying, you're going to have to explain yourself to me.
Yeah.
And then while they're explaining themselves to me, I think obviously you'd buy them a pint, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, it would be wrong to question someone without buying them a pint.
I'd like to find a jury that would convict.
Yes.
But you mentioned that about, obviously, if you lived in Wales, even if you don't live in Wales, pop along, because Keir Starmer is already being talked about. GB News is discussing it, and loads of other things like 16-year-olds can vote, foreign nationals can vote. That's already in Wales. That's old news for us. But this, Keir Starmer has said that Mark Drakeford is what he would model his sort of reign on. Mark Drakeford, seeing what he's done to Wales, this is soon going to be coming to England, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, reign of terror.
Yeah.
Sex education for 3-year-olds, compulsory. If you criticise it, then you will be reported to social services. That's the kind of regime that Wales is now.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, why not visit our website, where you can get the podcast live, in full, uncensored, and for free from 1 o'clock UK time every weekday. And while you're there, why not access our premium content for as little as £5 a month, such as Bo's series, Eekpox, where in this episode he talks to Carl about the 7 Years' War. And if you'd like to keep up with what Bo's putting out, you can follow Bo on Twitter at @historybro1, and the rest of us over at @LotusEaters_com. Till next time, goodbye.